what's the most effective way to deal with anxiety, and what do we do when our kids approach us and they have something stressful and they're feeling anxious about it? A lot of times our response is to give them our love and support and tell them that it's going to be okay, which conceptually it's great, but their body, when they're reacting or responding to a stressful situation, there's a reaction in their brain and there's a reaction in their body and their nervous system. So their body is actually locking onto a certain physiological sensation that is being held somatically. So having the conversation about it's going to be okay, it doesn't necessarily deal with what's going on physiologically in their responses. So there's also an emotional component that goes along with it. So what we do is we respond in our loving ways and conceptually tell them the words that we probably heard when we were growing up from our loving those, our teachers and parents that loved us and that were giving us support. So this there's a teleclass coming up on how to ease anxiety in kids, and it's about having the awareness of how we as adults respond and react, what our relationship is with anxiety, and deconstructing, well, what are the physical sensations that go on, and what is our narrative that goes on, and what's the emotional response, and how do all those three things as adults play together or not play together well. And because we're modeling how to deal with anxiety by how we deal with anxiety. So we have all these years of practice from being a kid, and our body has a certain response to it. And if we're saying one thing to our kids about how to deal with it, but we deal with stress in a completely different way, then there's some contradiction there, and it's not going to help develop the proper coping mechanisms for our kids. So the way to really help our kids, those that we care for and love, to develop proper coping mechanisms is to be able to create that space to have the conversation, and to have them acknowledge and honor that there is a physical somatic response in our bodies and our nervous system when stressful events occur, and then creating the space so they can have a conversation about it. So it's not just about us saying it's okay, it's going to be all right, because remember, it's still locked in their body, but actually having a conversation with them about, okay, let's talk about what's going on in your body. Let's talk about the emotions, because everyone deals with has physical sensations and emotions that are different from other people. So we might use the same word, but there are different things that show up. So knowing how to have those conversations is going to be key in helping kids cope and deal with anxiety. So I really hope you join us. We're going to revisit our relationship as adults with anxiety, and in between the teleclasses, there's going to be times to practice and reflect so we can be a good model for how we deal with and observe anxiety in our lives. And then we're going to talk about practices and navigate during the teleclasses and have the practices that we engage in at home or at work to help others deal with their anxiety.